Hey, what's up, guys? Long time no see. I was working on a video earlier and I kind of got sidetracked. I didn't like the way it turned out, and I was like, I'm recording it sometime. But time here put out some stuff. He was asking about movies in college. So I remember movies in college being more of a thing where when we were in a party kind of situation and not everyone could make it, like the DM would throw together a movie or something like that, so we could get at least get some playtime in. But most of them were more tournament style movies, from what I remember, and less so adventures. Like there was the real world house kind of stuff. There was some universe destroying movies. There's some tournament. Like they basically followed the, I don't want to say the basic format because they were good fun. You don't want to take away from what was going on there, but yeah, like I don't feel like there was as many what if scenarios we posed, and I think that was partially due to a lot of us being pretty new when it came to the whole role playing thing in general. It's like Drew was, I think, had some experience with like the D&D kind of stuff, but like Jeff, Ty, myself, like that was pretty much our first like role playing experience. So like we were still kind of in that, let's min max it, let's less for the story, more for the who can we beat up, what kind of cool things can we accomplish. So I feel like we did as players did a lot of disservice to the quality of the story that was Generations, and I think the DM adapted that pretty well. Like he still put out an amazing story, but he filled it with combat and action, adventure, and all that kind of stuff for what I consider myself to be a largely ungrateful at the time player for the experience that I had. So yeah, like there was movies where you got to meet a lot of the crew, you got to meet that was my only thing is like, and it kind of got me into starting it was like wanting to know more about certain characters. Like the Herald was always a big fascination of mine with the Zeratul days, the Atticus days. There was a lot of tournaments, a lot of fighting, a lot of crew members, um, just a lot of NPCs in general. Like I said, I know you said it's a good resource, and like the thing is I don't remember a lot of the things. Like meteor throwing guy, I remember was like one of the big movie enders, and he was one of the movie enders for the power class that we were in. And then once you started to get past that, then you got like the, I think it was the disciple. He was one of the movie enders. Like he was just way above us as far as like the tournament went. Like there was a stable of NPCs that we kept running into in movies, and they would end movies in different ways sometimes if we couldn't get to the end ourselves, and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's just I feel like I'm doing the DM of the service by not being able to come up with any of the story oriented ones. But I feel like there wasn't as many movies for that reason. A lot of it was like the story progressing forward because everyone could usually make some time for some real world here and there. It was like usually more often than not that was the case, as opposed to getting into it and not being able to play. But yeah, it was. And like I said, this is kind of to address what Tamir was saying about like, oh, you should play more movies. I I I agree with you, but like I said, my big thing with it is I have pretty much three new characters at this point. I have Cass, Dre, and what's his name, Emrys. And it's like they're just so starting out, and only Emrys is really combat oriented at this point. So it's like I feel like if the DM is going to have to do anything, he's going to do something. It's going to be story related more so than like just something easy to throw you into. It's like they don't have that established backstory where they can just get into a movie. And like the kind of the final parting thought you added with the last one is, uh, if you could choose to get into a game, in your game, like I'm trying to get that story started out. Like at this point, like I want to get myself somewhere to even flesh out my characters still. Like a lot of them, I don't even feel like I'm completely fleshed out on as far as who they are, what they can accomplish, things like that. I'd say Emrys, despite having probably the second least playtime, is definitely the most fleshed out for me at least, where like I have an idea of about where he stands. Um, so yeah, like I definitely feel you on the idea of movies, but I feel like movies are better served for more established characters, unless they're like someone like Emrys, where I feel like, and even then, like Emrys is a little tricky because like he's just not a straight up Saiyan. Like I feel like his biggest part is has yet to be untapped, and that's like the whole mystical blacksmith thing. What I'm actually planning on doing, this is not directly addressing Timir, but more like the Alliance in general, is I'm gonna make movies in Unleash where if anyone wants to run a movie instead of their game, I can usually make it so you can play your game. But like I said, with Timir and your character starting out, like I think I have your character fleshed out enough where you could hop into a movie if you wanted to. But like I said, the 40 was the 40 odd years of backstory. There's still I'm getting closer, but like it's still not at the end point. So anyway, what I was saying is, as far as movies go, is movies will count as probably some sort of dream state. So they won't be it won't be like you die in a movie, you're gonna die in real life, but they might have advantages and disadvantages in the game, uh, if you want. And I'll leave it as like an option up to you. But it won't be like retroactive. Like it won't be like, oh, I get to the end of this movie, I don't want it. It's like you could choose at the start or the start of the movie. Like, do I want this to carry anything over? And what it will usually be is, you can get character experience, progression, that kind of thing. It won't be a 1-to-1 ratio, but like it'll be something where I feel like it would be worth your time to do it. Now, you go through some really traumatic stuff or something like that, like it might weigh on your character in the game. It might cause a bit of hesitation here and there when it comes to certain things because of, a feeling deep in the pit in your stomach. But it's not like something it's where it's overly detrimental where your psyche is slipping or anything like that. Like it just might have some positive and negative impact. But like I said, that'll be optional. But if you want to try to get into movies instead of getting your regular game, but like I said, for me at least, I feel like outside of Timir, I can pretty much get everyone in their game at the moment because I know everywhere where everyone is and enough about their story. So that's not an issue with me. I wish I could give you more when it came to the stories of generations and movies. Like I said, it's just like there's a couple characters that just stand out in my mind, like the disciple and meteor throwing guy being prevalent in a lot of the movies. But like really, it's like I feel like, and I think I've said this before, is like I feel like I've wasted so much of Generations potential because you're all the stories, all the places we went to and stuff like that. Like it just didn't pay us didn't pay as much attention to it back then. We just didn't give it the credit it deserved, uh, as far as things go. So like that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Like I said, I wish we could have a better recount of it. I wish my memory was a little sharper when it came to that. Like wish I didn't take all that time off, for Real World and kept up with the conversation because like I said, I'm sure that's like the always the best slash worst feeling is when someone will throw out a planet's name in Generations. It's like I might have been there, like in our ship cruising days. There's been a couple names that Time Years thrown out where I'm like, man, that sounds familiar. So, so yeah, like I said, I wish I could give you more on that one, as far as movies go, but I don't think it'll be too much help. As far as like friends and relations go, um, I feel like, well, I don't know. Like I feel like I wasn't usually friendly with Jeff and Ty's character. They were usually on the evil side. Drew's character I got along with actually pretty well. Drath was a cool dude. We got along, uh, as far as like PCs go, like PC relationships, and I think we tended to play the most. We stuck with the most. Jay was one of those ones too. Like Jay was a cool. And it's like it's definitely a little bit different because like I said, I feel like we played together so much, so often. It's like Mike wasn't a strong role player, but Jay got into it pretty good, and he had some really fun, interesting characters. But yeah, as far as relations goes, like when you're all kind of teamed up like that, then you definitely get a better appreciation for how things are, and how people play off each other. Excuse me. How people play off each other and what you can kind of go through together with that. But yeah, as I said, like that was something, and I said I still think this is such a result of the group dynamics plus the way we played back then. It's like as I grew up and grew to appreciate the beauties and intricacies of real world. It's like things like a home life, friends and family, and everything like that. Like none of my characters had that by and large. Like yeah, Omen was the closest, I think. And then like even then he kind of got stripped away from that pretty quick because of the legacy thing. Uh, you know, I tried to cling to that as long as I possibly could, but you know, um, so like I said, I think most of the relationships that were established, or at least more so, was the group of PCs that played together rather than NPCs. And I said like I think that's probably one of the best strengths of real world and generations is the NPCs, and it's just like we just didn't take advantage of it because we had so many PC characters running around. It's like you know you gotta figure if you're solo and you've got like 4 or 5 NPCs in your squad, that's you know that's a thing. But like if you got 4 or 5 NPCs and then 4 or 5 PCs, like it just starts to get busy at that point. Like it gets hard to juggle, hard to manage. Everyone has to take their chance to act. Everyone has to take their chance to talk. You know, but like I feel like you get a better experience in those smaller type scenarios now. And that's not hating on real world con because it's still fun there and it's still manageable. Speaking of which, looking forward to that. I think we're still on for the end of September. I've heard. I think I'm picking up an event, potentially September 21st, which will be good. Uh, this is one of those, I guess, like universal catch-up videos. But yeah, that's about where we stand with that. As far as like movies, I'd like to see or do. Like I said, I'm in such a weird spot with so many of my characters in the sense that I'd like to get them like their footing, like their first arc or their first chapter before I like start diving into movies. Because like you know, Dre like doesn't even have his powers awakened or anything like that yet. Cass just you know is a doctor. Like you know, I feel like anything that Cass does as a movie is largely going to be a storytelling event rather than an action adventure thing. I mean, unless you were like you know putting him on a fishing trip or like a safari or something, or like meeting the creatures of generations, which would be fun in its own right. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like is probably equally as much work for the DM as to getting in their game. But I'll definitely take what time here sit under advisement. Apologize for getting the video out late. I'm going to listen to some more videos, so you guys might see another video coming up. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this without getting out. Alright, record.